Good bloody morning. We are seeing two amazing people today in about 20 minutes. Just like it's the middle of June. Let's take it to the moon. Just let it go. Morning.
Hey, how are you?
We good, right?
To business.
What do you think of the cafe itself? Yeah, we might like slam some tables together.
Nobody could have matched the verse.
This is Darcy, everyone. We are here at Wellington Street, and we are yet to see person number 2, but
someone give me what a man deserves.
he did say leaving now at the group chat. Should I show the camera that? What's up? What kind of time do you call this?
You good?
Good, man. You?
You guys go for it. Yeah.
Man, I'm keen to chat to you a bit about mindset today.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, bro.
You can get some good content. So actually, I've got a lot of limiting beliefs.
Oh, mate, I'm gonna look into it.
Between the wedding and business investment, we spent 150k.
Thank you very much. It's just there. Thank you so much. Good to see you again, mate. Yes, Matt. How are we doing? I wanted to break down the exact method that I went through with George and Darcy whilst we were sat there, just going after it and understanding their problems a little bit. When they said to me that they had limiting beliefs and they don't think that they could actually get to a certain point or take a certain big risk within their business to get to the next level. Both of them are very high level at this point, but they're dealing with troubles, concerns, and problems in their business they don't feel like they can overcome, whether it be business, financials, business when it comes to hiring, business when it comes to pushing your clients to the next level to get them results, pushing your prospects on the calls to sign up, not in the sense of letting them go through and have buyer's remorse and no matter what, you're just signing clients left, right and center just to get them in, but to really push them to change their own limiting beliefs. You have to do that for yourself first. And I've done that thousands of times over with myself and other clients in small little simple memories by following an extrapolation of this, which is changing your self and world concepts, changing how you see yourself and changing how you see the world that you live in, because that alone will influence your beliefs, your behaviors, and your outcomes. Those three things are going to be the single biggest lever between you and the reality that you want. And it starts at the top of the chain by having a self and world concept conducive with the outcome that you actually want. If you're having a contradicting self and world concept, you will be experiencing a contradictory and unwanted reality. And that is simply not what we want in business, in anything in life. And I have the 3 exact steps that has allowed me to do this at scale with people, and also broken it down to make what would be woo-woo spirituality into pure metaphysics, into something that makes complete sense to your brain. In order to get the reality that you want through this, you have to have the self and world concept that makes it inevitable that you get that reality. And this is simply how we do it. So I'm going to break it down in terms of how you can make this your default state, this self and world concept, what you need to understand in order to get to grips with problem solving this self and world concept where you currently are compared to where you want to be, and get the simple steps as a whole to how we can actually break down why this has been going wrong for the past however so long. So first of all, we want to make this your default state, and the biggest mistake that so many people make is they are going too fast to be able to stop their thoughts in real time that are coming from their negative self and world concept. This is the section of everything that determines whether or not you will succeed. People think the faster you go, the more progress you'll make. And that is the worst trait you can have and belief you can have as a business owner, because if you are not slowing down to reflect upon whether or not you are moving the business forward, let alone if you are in the correct identity to access the reality that you want, then you will never be able to access it. And it's very important to note that the faster the train goes, the harder it is for it and you to slow down enough for you to get off. So once we've got that understanding, this is going to be so easy to understand once you've done it the first time. All I'm asking from you from this video is to follow this along for the first time. If you've done it before, you've understood mindset before, you will understand the principles of why this works. But what works is in this document that I've written down and I've broken down for the boys earlier today. But the biggest thing from this is that default state. People snap back to their old identity, to their old reality, simply because they're brute forcing the problem. They're pushing forward the wrong mentality. When it comes to getting what they want, they are contradicting themselves in every turn, and it's simply because they're going way too fast and hard and intensely at the problem, but they're hitting a brick wall and their old identity is pulling them right back away from the wall, and they think they need to go back again and keep pushing the elastic band that's ready to snap them back to their old ways of doing things. That's why you have these highs that are really high and these lows that are really low, and you don't have this level default state that is able to get you slowly but surely to the actual goal that you want. You want consistency when a game of identity. You do not want intensity, because your brain does not communicate in that language. It communicates in your subconscious. And the slower that you go, the more you'll be able to access that subconscious mind. It's called theta waves, and your brain operates at certain frequencies of waves that when you access certain parts of the brain, you can change the way that you physically experience the reality around you, because your self world concept stored up here can be accessed, changed, rewritten, and reconditioned to the reality that you want. But in order to find out what that is simply writing it down. This is the part that becomes the most conscious for you originally when you first start this out. And we had this analogy that we had 3 coffee cups. I had actually my phone in the middle here, just as the middle ground between both, the bridge, if you will, between the subconscious of what we go through here and the conscious, the action you take, the beliefs, the behaviors, and the outcomes, essentially. So this is the behaviors. We'll call my laptop the beliefs because it has all of them on there. And we're going to call the outcomes this mouse just over here. So I put the mouse here, and I put my phone just in the middle, and we'll call this section of the laptop our behaviors, our beliefs. Beliefs can be broken down into our self and world concept that make up our beliefs as a whole. How we see ourselves, we have beliefs about. How we see the world, we have beliefs about. But they all come down to the self and world concept. Those things are going to be the biggest determinant of whether or not we actually have substance in our brain that will generate an outcome. If we don't have a self and world concept, we are simply not human beings. We're not alive. And the part of what makes us human is we are flawed. And we see ourselves in certain ways with that in mind that makes us who we are. So, as I was saying, on self and world concept, you have your beliefs, you have your behaviors, and your outcomes. But how can we understand the belief side of things? Because this is the part where a lot of people simply get wrong, because it's slightly more nuanced than you might think, but it is stupid simple. So what you want to figure out is the quote that describes your current reality. One thing at a time we're focusing on. And for George, for example, it was that he couldn't see himself as someone who could be massively consistent in business in the current state of where he was at. He was burning out, and he was pushing forward on the gas so heavily that when he woke up in the morning, he would go and answer client messages and team messages, and immediately he would be into gear, and he wouldn't be able to slow down and enjoy mornings like this. And you could see him being very uncomfortable when we were challenging his beliefs, and that's the perfect jackpot to understand. That is the quote we want to write down. If you have an emotional reaction when someone challenges you on your beliefs, that is your beliefs essentially fighting back for the energy they've been taking from you this entire time, and they've been draining you and avoiding you realizing the truth, which is you can change your beliefs. They're trying to conceal that from you. Their job is to stay alive as much as possible. So if they're starting to drain your energy, that is going to be when you're writing down this quote, an emotional reaction, you feel like, fuck, that's a limiting belief in our hands. And that's going to be very evident to suggest that that's the one we want to focus on. Now you just want to figure out, what would I have to believe about the world for that to be true? What would I have to believe about the world for me to wake up and I start answering client messages immediately and get out of my morning stillness and my morning state just so I can be the intense version of me? Why does the world that I live in make that happen? And after that, you've understood that exact line that's made the world that you live in impact the reality you have. That is going to be super key. But it doesn't just stop there. We have to also get that self-concept. We have to get the, how do I view myself? And what would I have to believe about myself for the above to be true? That is one of the biggest things, because how you see yourself will always be the internal world that you live in. And I think there's so many things that when it comes to, for example, the client messaging, morning burnout type of feel, you are simply seeing yourself as someone who does not care about themselves enough, who doesn't have a responsibility taken upon themselves to take care of their own energy and protect their energy in the mornings. You don't see that as important to your identity. to you. And that will reflect the reality of morning burnout and feeling in this intense mood all of the time and not optimizing for consistency in business, which is, in the grand scheme of things, staying in the game, the most important thing. Now, when we come to step 3, we have to understand what we've got here. We will be tracing back where this quote came from, but that will be in a sec. Once we've understood how current reality, just like you're on a sales call, current state, future state, you want to focus on what quote is the outcome that we are really going for. And I say really going for, not in a sense of pushing consciously and risking snapping back to your old identity, but what is going to be inevitable for us in the future, that we know that this is the outcome that we're working towards, which is, for example, consistency in business. It could be this massive impact that you've made with clients as a result with staying in the game long enough to generate this. What would I have to believe to be true to make this inevitable? What would I have to believe about myself and the world for this above, that are written in quotes, exactly the outcome that I'm focusing on now, to be inevitable? What would I have to believe? And I think that's pretty much it on the conscious side of things. No one else is going to tell you this information, because by the time that you hear it, you would have probably been tuned out. You would have said to yourself, this isn't going to work for me, simply because your beliefs are trying to protect themselves. So if you're watching this video and you're getting all of these thoughts sort of rushing through your head, perfect. You are in the exact right place. And I'm telling you now, simply because I've been through this process thousands of times at this section of my life, and I'm probably going to be doing it forever because I love this stuff. You will be in a position now that you know that this is what you need to focus on. And I want you to know that no matter what is going on in your reality, this is exactly what has happened unconsciously up until now, that you've believed something to be true subconsciously, because there are no truths except subconscious truths, for this to happen. And you just got to make that slightly conscious today, as uncomfortable as it may be, that what would I have to believe about the world for this above to be true? And what would I have to believe about the world and myself for this outcome to be inevitable? Because it's not becoming the version of you who simply gets it. It's becoming the version of you through your self and world concept that outcome is inevitable for. Now, step number 3, once you've slowed down, you've noted consciously what your self and world concept actually is now and what it should be. Now you want to figure out, where the bloody hell did my beliefs come from? Because at the end of the day, there has been one event, one origin, and one single experience that has determined that belief coming into existence. That belief is an entity that drains energy from you consciously, but it had an origin. And when you trace the origin of your fear, it disappears. And I heard this Earl Sweatshirt song that allowed me to get that quote out of thin air. Not quite sure who the original sample and quote was from. But what would I have to believe about myself and the world for that to be inevitable? Well, where the hell did that belief come from that I would get this outcome? Because that's an event that you had in your brain that just came to you as you watched this video. Where would the hell did that belief come from that I could at least explore doing that? Explore that memory. And you want to figure out, how deep is that belief? Is it something that you always wanted since you were a child? And it's level 4 level of knowing, which is living in the truth that is going to happen, but you simply haven't incubated the self and world concept yet. Or is it something that you heard yesterday and it's something that you've just had a first touch point with, as an experience, as a belief, that you've heard it from someone else, or you've just about had your first interaction with this potentiality that you can believe that this can be true in some capacity. That's number 1. And in between, you have levels 2 and 3. The full stack is level 1 is first exposure. Level 2 is consistent exposure. Then level 3 is consistent application. And then 4 is living in that truth and consistently doing the thing like it's second nature. And when you figure out, just off a brief gut instinct of this belief, where did that belief come from? Your current reality, the top quote, and the new reality, top quote, where did that come from? That is going to be a massive indicator for how many repetitions it's going to take for you to ingrain this new self in world concept through meditation, through slowing down, through accessing the unconscious work, which I will leave a video up in either corner for you to learn meditation now if it is something you feel like is a weak muscle, because it is so simple to do. You just spend the intentional time moving towards the unconscious rather than the conscious. And that section of your brain, once tapped into, can be generational in terms of the impact that it makes. Your kids will have the same mindset because your brain literally metaphysically changes the more that you build certain muscles within it. This is not as woo-woo as it might sound. And I can guarantee you that the work you are not doing right now is simply probably in the subconscious. The closer you can get to that, the better. And the way you get closer to that is by focusing on that 1 to 4. Which number is it? Is it level 1 and it's completely just a single exposure you saw yesterday or something last week where you feel like that's what I want to do, or that's what I'm experiencing? If something came up in your business that really rattled you, like a client conversation or a sales call that's stuck in your brain a little bit and is given a new entity the opportunity to drain energy from you, that belief has now instilled itself in you and your self and world concept. And then you can find the origin of that thing. You can handle it. You can make so much work of it to the point where it disappears or it grows in energy, depending on whether it's your new self and world concept or your quote or your current reality. What I want you to see is that there are many ways to do this. There's going to be a lot of other people potentially on YouTube as well that teach a certain method, and no method is right or wrong. It is the one that allows you to handle and control your thoughts at the end of the day, because the thoughts are the ones that trace back to your self and world concept. And if you can really intervene them in real time based on what you've explored here, spending unconscious time on it, you are going to make the most amount of progress by far. So don't worry about the what, the method. Focus on the emotion you feel going through this process, taking the internal stimuli of this picture, of this outcome, finding this quote consciously and finding it unconsciously, that origin, and really picturing that moment in vivid detail to the point that once you're doing that meditation, that unconscious work, you are in the perfect space to handle the thoughts that come up as a result of you challenging this belief, which you challenge it under 3 parameters. And these 3 parameters unlock a secret parameter. The first one being, is it true? Is this belief that I have experienced and been exposed to and had a visceral outcome happen to me in real life, is that actually true? The fact that I don't feel like I'm the person who can handle negative clients. I don't feel like I'm the person who can step on stage and host a mastermind in front of 50 people. I don't feel like I'm the person who can wake up and not attend to my clients and my team. Things just have to move fast for me. I'm the type of guy who likes to move immediately when I wake up to the desk and get things done. Things like that. Is it actually true that you feel like this belief is something that is a part of you? Because 99% of beliefs are foreign. So most likely this first question is going to be no. It's something that has come into your life unexpectedly and invisibly to the point where you do not actually think, if you were to handle this belief, and you were to think in detail just for a second, is it actually true? Is this limiting belief that we've identified in this quote or this self-concept actually true? And if the answer is no, then, which it probably will, then you're in the jackpot, because this puts you down the chain, which you can ask the next question and the next question. If it was true, then fair play. This is probably going to be your new self and world outcome that's true, because inevitably you probably had a deep ridden desire that's at level 3 or 4 of this consistent application towards this goal, but you just haven't ticked it into gear yet on the self and world's concept to be able to influence your beliefs and your behaviors and your outcomes to the fullest. So is it true? Well, if it's a positive belief, most likely. The negative side of things will always come, but there is no good or bad beliefs. There is just beliefs that are feeding energy and are generating the outcome. And that's a good note of polarity, which you can use to your advantage because it neutralizes these questions quite a bit. Is it true? Well, no, I wouldn't actually say that that statement that I've written down is true. Cool. Well, is it helpful to my goals? Your new self-world outcome is probably a great indicator of your goals at the end of the day, because it's something that if you focused on immediately whilst comparing it and contrasting it and finding the discrepancies between that and your current self-world concept, you're going to be in the money. Because at the end of the day, is my belief that I've written down helpful to get me towards my goals? Well, if it was the belief that I can't spend the morning 2 hours without doing any work, then how are you going to remove yourself from a business ultimately long term to then be the person who creates massive leverage and a business that he feels free and he feels aligned, and he feels someone who is managing his time to the best of his ability, and he's able to enjoy every second of it, no matter what is going on in or out of his business. Well, no, it wouldn't be helpful to those goals whatsoever, having that limiting belief. Is it something I would choose? Now, this is the jackpot, because it starts tapping in mostly to that emotional side of things. Someone you love, someone you admire, someone who has come into your life and you really value beyond anything, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be someone who's a mentor to you. Let's say they were going to achieve the new self and new world outcome that they wanted. That's the end of the coffee cup, the mouse. Let's say they were about to have it. They were about to have it in their grasp. They're about to step on stage in front of 5,000 people. And it could be your mum giving a public speech on something she's really passionate about. She's been incubating the belief in her brain for months, years, to be able to do that, to step on stage. Would you say the belief that you're currently holding to yourself in your current reality and say that to someone else? Say something so harmful to them that would cause them to sit behind the curtain and be like, fuck, I don't want to go out. Why would you say that? Why, Alex, why would you do that? So why would you do that to yourself? Why would you say that limiting belief? Hold that to heart. Why would that be a part of you and your world if you couldn't even say that to someone else? No. And here's the beautiful part. Thank you for staying and watching this long, because this is the key. Because this is where we start to find not only the clarity behind our limiting beliefs, not only do we find where they come from and that they are foreign to our body, to our mind, to our spirit, soul, to our self and world concept, but now we can let them go. Because after every shortness of breath, every breathing in, calming down, the relaxation, the slowing down, getting closer to that default state of being that person who has this world that they live in, and they live in an internal world. Now you ask yourself, why should I hold on to it? Why should you hold on to that limiting belief? If it's not true, if it's not helpful, or if it would be something that you would choose, why should you hold on to it? Genuinely. And immediately you'll feel this belief flick out of your brain in a way that you probably haven't felt before if you've not done this yet. And this is the key to creating that new self and world concept, because once you give one belief free reign to be let go, you make space for another. You make space for the new self and world concept to make room in your brain. None of this is going to be possible if you haven't gone through the full steps, but it is as possible as you think. And you will have meta beliefs, which are beliefs within beliefs that you can't change your beliefs. But when you do this, you can do as much of this over and over and over again, and you shall become limitless. You should be the person who believes they can achieve anything, and they believe they live in a world where they can achieve anything. And that is the key. And if you don't know how to meditate, you also don't know how to get to a state of relaxation where you are slowed down, you're not focusing on conscious work as much, but you're focusing on unconscious work. I've got a simple diagram for you. Aside from the video I mentioned earlier, all the first things that generate this outcome is a state of relaxation. And slowly but surely you are leveling up this state to the point where your beliefs, your behaviors, and your outcomes are well within reach, and they're not running away from you at all. These three things can be seen very vividly, and as you build the muscle, you will get so good at this that it will become a cakewalk for you to do this over and over again. But firstly, you are visualizing each stage here. You can't quite see this document just yet, but visualizing each stage. I will have it just on the side of the screen for you to have a look at as well. But visualizing each stage comes down to relaxation first and foremost. You are literally visualizing that your muscles are contracting and releasing. I'm sat there in this position, my feet, my calves, my quads, all the way moving up to my spine, centered posture. I feel, if I can see myself, relaxing all my muscles at once. This is literally 3 to 5 minutes or more, depending on how easy this is for you. But you will run into some issues where you'll start to judder, start to come out of it. You won't feel as relaxed because your muscle has not been built yet. And you also don't have the self and well concept of someone who does this consistently. If that's the case and you're feeling uncomfortable, have compassion for yourself at this stage, because at this point, there is no perfect individual who does meditation. And you can apply that to yourself. And no one is perfect in general. And you will always run into issues when it comes to meditation starting out, because your brain is going to convince you that this is some random stuff you shouldn't be doing and that is foreign to you. This isn't something that you do consistently. You don't live in a world where meditation works, but you do. And you just got to give yourself a moment of grace to continue and carry on, because this is often the first hurdle, that when you realize that unconscious work is actually the thing you want to do, it will become a lot easier. But in this state of not slowing down, going fast as possible, doing massive action without first slowing down to align yourself to the self and one concept conducive with the outcome, you're going to be sat in the same space. But this is going to change the way you view business, and you view how you operate, you view how you see yourself and the world you live in. So just have that moment of compassion for yourself and keep this visualizing each stage going, visualizing each muscle, relaxing at once. And you'll feel it. I can feel it in my head right now, just breathing, focusing on just one thing at a time, which is each muscle contracting, the nose breathing downwards. I can feel the sensation here. And that is what you start to feel as relaxed as possible, and just breathing out in general, big win. You get this sort of activation, this sensation in your brain that feels nice. So you'll get dopamine from this, but just know there's going to be something else fighting as well. Next, you want to do what's called triangle breaths. I don't have the official name for this, but the official name for this style of meditation is right there. I believe it's Vipassana. But I've obviously butchered that because I said two things. The triangle breaths just come under the realm of breathing in, and as you reach the top of the breath, it makes you peak and you go down. And as you go down, you then hold your breath when you have emptied it. So it's and then it reaches it. And that's going to be amazing to build the muscle, just literally visualizing a glowing light of that thing doing this in equal amounts of time, however long you want to do it for, obviously within reason. Start slower first and start shorter, but keep building that and start extending the time by a second each time to keep that rhythm going. But also to literally visualize this glowing light making a triangle in front of you, with your eyes closed, looking at the wall, looking in a quiet environment. I would say the external stimuli isn't going to be an issue, but only if you're starting from a place of doing consistent meditation. If you're getting distracted and other things around you, then just find a quiet place to start out with, because that's going to be really useful to just have a blank canvas, as some people call it, to make this triangle happen. That was not a triangle I just drew. Next, you want to move to box breathing. Once you've done 3 to 5 repeated rounds of triangle breathing, you want to go to box breathing, which is essentially what people like Wim Hof practices, which is grabbing the exact same thing that you did with the triangle, but just extending it at the top. So you hold it in.
Easy.
With this little heart. Like the loop, yeah.
And then you're back. And you created a full square / box that you've done with your breath. And it's very equal across the board. You feel even more relaxed. You've gone from level 1 relaxation to 2 to 3. And now we're going to 4. But first of all, that box breath is going to be massive. I did it in the sauna, I did it in the ice bath, multiple times consistently for 4 months at a time. And I think this is a very big muscle you can build when you realize the power of it. When you attribute meaning to this as something that is going to change your life, you will never stop wanting to do it. That's a beautiful thing. I was speaking to Darcy and George earlier, and they were like, well, I don't really feel like I would want to do that. I feel like going to the gym all the time. I really loved going to the gym. That makes me feel like I'm progressing. But this originally won't have any attributed meaning to it other than what your self and whole concept has roughly in their brain about meditation so far. So just be compassionate again for yourself and realize that you're going to attribute meaning to this. When you see how amazing it is, see for the first time how it works, that you can get to a state of massive progress. Now, once you've done this 3 to 5 repetitions and you've done extending the time that you've done the box breath for, you've gone deeper and deeper into that breath, you will feel your breath being very slight, be very subtle. The breath through your nose and through your mouth will be as subtle as can be. That's a beautiful thing because you feel lighter, you feel like you're giving enough oxygen to your brain, and it's also producing this sensation, which is a slight stress response. In your brain, when you're holding it at the top and the bottom, you're giving yourself the bodily function to clear thoughts, oxygen, and everything, relaxation wise, out of your body. And that clears the canvas for you. It's amazing. It's a really good sensation. And that's when you want to sit in that sensation. You want to release control of your breath. Because constantly doing the triangle and box breaths is good, but that's like bro-maxing the way to get to the outcome that you want. But in order to get to the space to question these beliefs is releasing control. You want to sit in that space and you'll feel it slowing down, feel it giving you more space and more clarity on your thoughts because they're probably clouded because you're too conscious. You haven't slowed down enough. You haven't got to that default state yet, and that's okay. That is where things can happen. This is where 1, 2, and 3 come together in this beautiful harmony where you sit and you release control. Now, this is dependent upon your goals. But once you've sat in that space and you've got rid of this belief, you've asked yourself, is it true? Is it helpful? Would it be something that I would choose? And you've said, no, no, no. Then why should I hold on to it? Immediately, this will be a massively arbitrary, originally a sensation to your brain that, wow, it's gone. And now you're going to focus on yourself and world outcome in this stage. Why do I not believe this to be true yet? Oh, because of this, this, and this. Or let go of that limiting belief. Why do I not believe that this would be helpful towards my goal is to have this as my self and world concept? Okay, focus on that limiting belief. No, it's not helpful, true, or something I would choose. Okay, cool. Well, why haven't I chosen this belief that I can achieve this new self and world outcome of stepping up on stage with 5,000 people there, getting a massive client base that loves me for what I do and doesn't have any remorse or whatever? Why should I hold on to that if it's not there? Why should I hold on to the limiting belief that has kept me from choosing this thing and that is not true and that it's not helpful to my goals just yet? So why should I hold on to that limiting belief? And you just go and forward and you realize in yourself for the first time, probably, that you have now chosen a new self and world concept to abide by. And all it is a conscious choice. It's one choice that you make at once. I believe I am this person and I live in this world. And that is the only thing that you need to focus on. Your brain is going to tell you that it's more complex than that. That by doing this meditation, you've got to start some 7-step framework in order to actualize it in your brain. But you've slowed down, you've understood yourself and what concepts are going to generate the outcome. And you've gone through the necessary steps and questioning to remove and imprint this new limiting belief, and remove the new limiting belief that has caused you to be where you are right now. And now you're in the right space. Perfect. You can do this as many times as you want because at the end of the day, this is you building that muscle. And I want you to come away from this video having so much clarity on that limiting belief to the point where you cannot fathom having that old self and world concept, because it's now inevitable that you will reach that outcome. It's so inevitable. And I think you should be so proud of yourself if you've gone through this once before and if you're about to do it right now. I'm proud of you because at this point, I was in your shoes where I thought this was massively woo-woo. I didn't get into the entrepreneurship space to start sitting on the floor and breathing. I came in here to make some money and get some freedom. But the idea behind this is it's going to take some time and attention and intention, but it is going to change the way that you see yourself, your business, and the world that you live in. And that is by far the most impactful thing you can spend your time on. I spend a lot of my time every single morning and night, as well as I can, within my own self and the world that I live in, to do this consistently. And it has worked a massive charm. I generated hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of client results just by teaching people this. I even got a text from George who just said, "Thank you, bro, for the thing that I sent over to him," which was this exact same screenshot of this document, which is now on the side of the screen. And it will be in the description as a simple guide for you to understand this process a lot better. How can I get a new self and world concept that brings about the outcomes that I want? This is it right here. And if you've enjoyed this video, you've really felt like this is something that you want to implement right now, take quick action upon, and get the results in real time of having your limiting beliefs taken away from you and relinquished and having your eyes set that you are inevitably going to reach this outcome that you've been working towards this entire time, that you've simply been held back in the past, then you can use this video as your document and as the thing that you come back to consistently every time you want to do this, or slowly but surely getting that muscle built. But if you feel like you really need help with this, you've done this in the past, or you've tried it after this video and you felt like this was so difficult for me, I feel like I really need help and the nuance and the expertise to get this really ingrained in my life and in my brain, and you know that it's going to get you the results you want, then I will leave a link in the description to find help with that. And I'll see if you're in the right position to get some help with this. It's not going to be anything massive, but I will definitely do what I can to help you out with this, because that's where I believe the most impact is made, is by having the courage to ask for help. But thank you for watching. And this has been a massive, passionate project that I've been working on and been pushing for. And now I've got to this point where I'm super confident this is the exact thing that will generate you the outcomes that you want, through focusing on the beliefs, seeing the behaviors happen, and getting the outcomes by making them inevitable within your brain, within yourself and world concept. And I made this in this coffee shop. Apologies for the noise. That I started my morning today massively problem solving this for 2 people today who I believe are true friends. And these are going to help them as much as it's eventually going to help you if you apply and believe these principles. But thank you for watching, and I hope you are really enjoying the content at the moment. I sure am, and I would love for you to have an amazing day as a result of the content you've watched from me. But thank you very much. And this has been Alex Archives Live. I will see you in the next one. Archives out.